I think we can slowly get started. So good afternoon. My name is Timo Suhonen, working as SDAC MSD NEMO site convener. Question to Tom, who is taking care of us as the PMO today. Did you start Read AI bot taking the minutes?
No, I think that was invited by a participant.
Then whoever invited the AI tool, I kindly ask you to terminate it, or I will terminate it. Those are not allowed. Thank you. And apology inconvenience caused, but Market Coupling Steering Committee has taken earlier a very strict view that third-party software is not allowed to listen any of our meetings, whether it is internal or with the market participants or external stakeholders. Thank you for taking it down. Then let's go to the agenda itself. We have a very brief note on SDAC, the single day-ahead coupling. Then we walk through the storage order as a concept, what it means, what it is about, and how it relates to the market participants. Then we have a short walkthrough of the questionnaire you hopefully have started to look into and will fill in, because we really would like to get your feedback on the topic. Then we open the Q&A session towards the end, and then brief closing and view to the next steps coming in the future. If you, Tom, go forward. So SDAC single intraday, day-ahead coupling is the pan-European day-ahead electricity markets, allowing and enabling cross-border trading across the Europe, EU plus Norway through implicit day-ahead electricity supply auction, the wholesale market, common Euphemia algorithm for all the bidding zones, all the market, and consists of 16 nominated electricity market operators, the NEMOs, and 30 transmission system operators, the TSOs, are jointly organizing the SDAC. So we're covering 27 countries, most of the Europe. Then during 25, it's 1,900 terawatt traded on altogether in 1 year. And in 2025, the calculated daily economic surplus was 11.8 billion euro a day. So optimizing the use of the optimizing the selling and buying of the electricity, taking care of the interconnectors on the way. Then moving forward to the storage order concept. This is a case study or reference to the GP market side. And there are already existing the core principle of storage orders existing in the GP side. Say the storage system actively buying and selling within the day, and then switching between charging the system, discharging between the time periods and optimizing the dispatching based on spread across the multiple intervals. And assets act as a both producer and consumer. So in other ways, it will cause both selling and buying orders into the systems. And the value is created through the optimization across the time, not as an individual market time unit in GP side. And the relevance for the SDAC is behavior already exists in there, and the storage orders will enable Euphemia to capture this explicitly within the day-ahead auction. And it reflects the existing system behavior while introducing a more efficient way to capture it within the central market clearing, within the single day-ahead day. Then moving forward, and introduction to the storage order. Loop block exists already in the SDAC domain, which is sort of reflection or predecessor of the upcoming storage order itself. That is, and the loop block is supported by the algorithm. It is up to the individual NEMO whether they provide it to the market participants or not. Then loop blocks allow to link one supply and one demand block together, forming a single family of blocks. And then you see an example of the behavior in the graph in the middle of the page. And they are always, the linked blocks are always accepted or rejected together. So it's sort of all or nothing. And market participants must submit the execution profile of the loop block for each market period. Preparing the execution profile requires a detailed market forecasting. So you need to understand, you need to know how you believe the market will behave to make the linking and profiling of the loop blocks. And that obviously brings in the possibility or risk of financial loss if the forecast is not accurate. And therefore, in order to address the challenge and due to the fact that storage systems are ever increasing in numbers and size across the Europe, we have been working a couple of years to develop this new order type, the storage order, which is basically tailored to a storage system, optimizing it largely on behalf of the market participant. And we can go forward. So this public consultation is, which started in the beginning of June, which will end in end of June. There is QR codes to NEMO committee and ENTSO-E web pages to find the questionnaire. We hope you take a look, you provide your feedback, and we will then use as SDAC MSD, Market and System Design group under SDAC, we use the provided feedback to finalize the design elements. The concept is already implemented into the Euphemia prototype, but the finalization of the work is still pending, and we rely your feedback, and then we do internal simulations to to check what makes most sense from what we believe is good for the market and how that is then impacting, on the other hand, to the Euphemia algorithm itself. So please use the opportunity to provide the feedback through the questionnaire. That would be very, very highly appreciated. And then what is a storage order? It is a new type of order, and the whole sort of idea is that the storage order will be optimally allocated across all day-ahead market time units by the Euphemia algorithm itself. And it will not lose money, and it will be profitable across the market time units of the day-ahead auction. And then the physical asset, the storage system itself, will be or needs to be able to switch between production and consumption, charging, discharging between the adjacent market time units. So it's not necessary just for batteries, but the hydro pump stations, for example, equally can be used as a storage system, because the pumping up the water or then releasing through the generator can switch from charging to discharging in a very, very short period of time. So equally and easily within the 15-minute resolution for the market. So, but in general, the system is agnostic to the underlying technology. The requirement indeed is that the system needs to be able to switch between the production and the consumption between the market time units. And the aim has been throughout the R&D phase to have a system or a new order that will help to maximize the revenue by reducing the need or reducing the need of accuracy of the price forecasting. So Euphemia calculates the optimum production consumption times during the day-ahead calculation process. And sort of the side product, if you will, because the main aim is to help the market participants to optimize your storage systems, but the byproduct or side effect is that depending on the amount of storage systems or storage orders and the size of the storage orders, how many megawatts there is available for selling and buying, it can mitigate or reduce the price spikes, smoothening the price curve caused by the sudden changes in energy production, which then enhance the market stability. With today's forecasting, the expected go live of the storage order on the day-ahead market is planned for the Q4 2027. So about a year and a half from today, roughly. And the next one. Then going to the bit of the technical details. And so far we have the split into the required parameters and optional parameters. And with the optional parameters, there is a default value existing to compensate if the optional parameter is not being provided. Then, so the required required parameters include the maximum energy stored, the megawatt hours, maximum input power, megawatts, maximum output power, megawatts, and the cycling cost, because there is in most of the, practically all of the units, whether they are batteries, hydro pump station, or something else, each cycle costs. There is wear and tear and some other potential costs. So you have an opportunity, or you actually have to provide €1 per megawatt hour as a cycling cost, which then helps the optimization to so that there is no hidden loss in the calculation process. The optional parameters with the default values is the starting energy stored, what is the level of the system when the calculation or when you send the order in. Default is 0, so it's basically starting from completely empty. And then the minimum energy stored default is 0. Efficiency default is 100%, so there is no loss of energy in the way, but you can define it if you consider the loss is something to be considered during the calculation. And then the value given to the energy stored at the end of the day, just 1 per order in euro per megawatt hour, which then, if you need to have a certain value by end of the day, you can define how that what that is supposed to be. And then the technical challenges for the Euphemia algorithm, yes, there are some. The implementation is taken a fair amount of time. We started in 23, we completed in the springtime. Yes, we had some other significant activities like the go live of the 15-minute MTU that slowed or halted the storage order development in between. But it's a non-trivial task as an implementation into the algorithm. There is a lot of variables that are required to represent the transfer of power between the periods. Basically, the similarity to the how the lines are operated. Number of orders, the large number of storage orders are likely to challenge the algorithm performance. And then due to the points here, and in order to maintain a feasible performance for Euphemia, we are grouping or aggregating the individual storage system so that we can serve practically any number of storage systems, but we can maintain a satisfactory performance of the market coupling calculation process by aggregating similar storage systems or storage orders. And then depending how the aggregation is done, and there is more to come in there to then unaggregate the results in one phase, which I think is coming also in the coming slides. Yes, a little bit further information, the need for aggregation. There is need to aggregate the similar storage system with the size in megawatts lower than the minimum size threshold. And the simulations we have run so far, we have assessed 2 potential values of the minimum size. of the single storage order 5 megawatt or 25 megawatt. So if the storage system with offered capacity lower than this threshold needs to be aggregated with other similar storage systems into a single storage order that exceeds the minimum size threshold. And then unaggregating the results, the storage systems with offered capacity larger than this threshold can be, unaggregated. So orders that goes as is without aggregation. And if you have a storage systems with capacity larger than the threshold, whether it is 5 or 25 megawatt, it can be submitted as a single storage order. And the example is the obvious hydropump station or very large batteries that can be provided sort of as is as a storage order into the market coupling session. And then going through the aggregation process further, we have discussed internally different options for the aggregation, and we so far identified 2 potential methods to be used. And the first one, market participants individually aggregate their own storage system. So the market participants who have multiple, say, batteries can make the aggregation all by themselves. And then if they exceed the limits or size thresholds, then those are, you can add then multiple storage order as you like. Or the other option is that it is an individual NEMO level aggregation separated for each bidding zone. And for the market participants, each market participant could aggregate their own storage system to exceed the minimum threshold. And equally, the aggregation would be done by the market participants as they see it fit. Whereas on the NEMO level, each NEMO on a bidding zone will aggregate orders of its own market participants. Then NEMO would then agree the aggregation criteria for its members. So it will be same for all members of an individual NEMO. There is more info coming. The orders would then need to be submitted into predefined categories called baskets. It's the name we provided or invented for it, with the predefined sort of grouping or categorization values. And then market participants would be limited with the input parameters. And so it's not all of the listed one, because some of will be harmonized across all the market participants for the given NEMO. And then the NEMO who is doing the aggregation, the deaggregation would be done by the NEMO, and then sharing the results to individual market participants. So there is a little bit of constraints. There is more steps as part of the process when the aggregation is done on the NEMO level. And if the aggregation is needed and is done by the market participants, there is more flexibility and there is less work on the NEMO level for the individual NEMOs to make the market coupling system compatible with the NEMO level aggregation. And then further discussion on the NEMO level aggregation. So as noted, there will be, as a market participants, you would need to choose from the list of predefined values of the parameters. And the group of the parameters is then creating the basket, the similar storage orders to be, storage systems to be aggregated into one. So basically you need to pick up the one which is closest but still compatible with the system you are running. And we can provide multiple baskets which would represent multiple sets of values for the different parameters. So there is a possibility to choose or select the one that fits the best your needs individually. And then the baskets will be predefined values would include the following parameters: the power to capacity ratio, starting volume to capacity ratio, efficiency, cycling cost, and then the end of the day value. And then the predefined values for the basket parameters and the number of baskets are to be defined at the later stage. And the simplification of the basket input parameters compared to the full set of the input values needs to be simplified so that the NEMOs are actually able to aggregate the orders, so that we have the number of storage orders also in the future in acceptable and manageable level. Nevertheless, the storage order remains open for refinement. So any input you can provide today and in future will help us during the finalization of the storage order to meet the market participants' needs in the future. So that's the background information that is also available when you go and look the questionnaire. And I invite Monica to take over from here the questionnaires.
Yeah, thank you, Timo, for introducing the concept of the storage orders. So as Timo already mentioned, this concept is more detailed also described in a separate PDF, which is available on the website. And there is also the link to the questionnaire itself, which we will now go through the individual questions so that you have some general information about what we are actually asking. And to maybe just some information on the questionnaire in general. So please bear in mind, and it's also written there for the questionnaire, that the answers will not be published individually. So your answers will remain completely anonymous. If we will publish something, that will be only as an aggregated set of orders. So we would like to ask you to be really honest with your answers, so that we can include it in our final stage of the R&D process. And also all these questions refer solely to the day-ahead market. So also bear that in mind, that the storage order, we aim to introduce it on the day-ahead market. So going directly into the questions, there we start with two of the general question, which is regarding the bidding zones which you are active in. Please tick which bidding zones are you active in, and in which rows do you act within those bidding zones. Then we can go to the next part of the questionnaire, where we focus on the storage order usage. We start with general question 3 about whether you already now use some order types like the loop blocks that were also briefly described today as a way to bid for energy storage systems in the day-ahead market. Next question is about whether you would have the appetite to actually use the storage order on SDAC, or if there are any concerns that you have that would prevent you to consider such option of using storage order on our market. With the fifth question, we ask you about which types of storage system you would intend to represent by the storage order. So we ask from that perspective that we have already considered some systems for the initial simulations, and there we considered the battery storage systems and hydro pump storage systems. So if there are any other systems that you would like to use as a way to represent in the storage order, that's appreciated if you type it down here, so that we have an overview of which systems would be actually used for being represented by the storage order. In the sixth question, there we go into some exact values that we would like that you provide to us regarding how much power in megawatt you would bid in a single storage order. It would be great if you could indicate such values, so that we do have the input from you that we could consider for the simulations. In the note for this question, we noted that if you assume that your power would differ a lot day by day, then ideally you indicate some kind of a range value in which you assume that the megawatt, the power in megawatt that you would bid for a single storage order you would use. And also, if you are involved in multiple bidding zones, it would be ideal if you could provide these numbers per individual bidding zones, in case the values for individual bidding zones would where we are active in would differ. On the next slide, then we go further with this megawatt value. If you expect that in the coming years, beyond 2027 and further, that this value that you would bid would significantly change. The storage systems are expanding nowadays, so, and in coming years. So in case you expect some significant change, it would be great that you share with us your outlook of how much power in megawatt you assume to bid in a single storage order. With that, it's the next question is quite connected. So it's how many storage orders? Please still the slide back. So the 8th question is about how many storage orders you would actually like to use in a single day-ahead session. Again, the disclaimer: if you are involved in multiple bidding zones and the numbers would differ, it would be great if you could provide the numbers per individual bidding zones. And the 9th question is about, regardless of the aggregation methods that will be also asked further, if you would consider combining different storage systems for submitting a single storage order. So if you could share it with us here directly for this question, that would be great. Then we can move to the unaggregated storage orders. So these are the storage orders that would be submitted unaggregated. So as already my colleague Timo earlier explained, so this would be the storage orders that exceeds the minimum size threshold. And you already saw the input parameters that we were described to you, the required and the optional ones. So these questions are considering these this type of order and these input parameters. So the question goes into the direction whether these input parameters are fine for you to define a storage order, whether any input parameters, whether you are missing any input parameter that would help you to define the storage order. That's the 11th question. Then we can go to the next slide, where we ask whether you find any of these input parameters useless. So you would not consider them for bidding. This is also an important information for us, so that we know on which parameters we should focus and we should use, and on the other hand, which parameters we can probably omit because you will not use them anyway. We ask also about the optional parameters, about the default values, whether these are fine for you. Obviously, you could change the default value quite easily, but whether you would prefer some other default value to be used, then please share with us, and also any other comments with regards to these input parameters of this type of order. We can go to the next slide, where we would ask about the exact numbers of each of the parameters that you would consider using when bidding at the day-ahead market with a storage order. So it would be great if you could share with us the exact values. This would really help us in the simulations that we will perform, so that we can kind of reflect the real market, how it will consider the storage order. So I ask you really to consider providing these numbers to us, so that we can really consider them in the simulations. So here, for the individual questions, please, for the individual parameters, you can consider either like one value or multiple values. Again, there is the disclaimer about the multiple, about the bidding zones. If you're active and the value would differ, you are very welcome to also include the different values for different bidding zones. And now we can move to the other type, let's say, of the storage orders, which would be the aggregation option. So as it was already explained, so the orders with the minimum size lower than the minimum size threshold would need to be aggregated. So with the question 23 to 25, we ask about the minimum size threshold, whether this is which value would be actually acceptable for you, or which other value would you prefer rather to have, if this value would be imposed on let's say the predefined values, which are now 5 or 25 megawatts. So if we would consider the orders below such threshold, whether it would be fine for you to aggregate these storage orders. So that would be the option of the market participants aggregation, whether you would be fine with that, and whether you would like to aggregate it by yourself, or whether in general the minimum size threshold would be fine for you. In the next question, we ask whether you would see the need to have the option to bid with the storage order with size lower than the minimum size threshold, which are currently considered 5 or 25 megawatts. So that it means whether the market participants aggregation option would not be possible or fine for you. And we also ask whether the possibility of the NEMO aggregation, so the defining the or using the baskets as we defined, or as we will define the individual numbers for the baskets, whether this would be an acceptable way for you to bid for these small storage systems below the minimum size threshold. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, where we will focus on the other questions are focusing on the NEMO aggregation option, which means the baskets definition. My colleague Timo already presented some general information about the basket. You can find more detailed information also in the PDF, which was also shared together with the public consultation. So you can dive deeply there. In general, we ask whether the baskets are a way forward for you as an acceptable option to bid with the storage order, and whether also the parameters are fine for you, because as it was stated, some parameters had to be omitted for simplicity, and also for that the aggregation would be actually possible. Especially we ask in the question 27 about the power in megawatt, which you would submit individually, so there will be no predefined value for that, but it will be taken as that input and output power would be assumed to be equal. So for this basket definition, there will be only one power in megawatt value, not the input and output power as we would have for the unaggregated option or for the option of market participant aggregation. And additional question is, how many baskets with different values do you see necessary to be available to the market? So how many options would you need to have for you to be able to represent your storage systems with the storage orders? We can go further, where we ask about the exact values of the baskets that you would find good to be represented in the baskets for your storage systems. So we really ask about the values that you would use and you would like to see in the baskets, because as said, so there will be multiple baskets with multiple sets of values. So each basket would have some predefined set of values, and these values would be defined up front, and then you as market participant would have to choose from individual baskets with the predefined values to represent your storage systems. So we ask here for your input. We have not suggested any values for now for you, so we will ask you to be open with your answers and provide the values that would suit you the best. For the answers, we drafted 3 baskets for you to be considered. You can, of course, provide more baskets depending on your needs. So there's kind of like an open answer for like inserting more values for additional baskets, and then another general comment whether you have regarding the baskets. And we can go forward, and these will be only the closing questions. So here, these are only some general closing question about any other comments or questions you might have, and whether you would be willing to give potential further elaboration on your answers if we would see it as necessary, if we can maybe later also contact you